everybody, and welcome to the third Student Success Seminar. This seminar is called Managing Stress. It is seminar number 3, and my name is Amy Edwards. I work with the Student Success Department here at Full Sail University, and a couple of things that I do for services here for students are to help with accommodations, tutors, and I teach all of the campus and online seminars. So if you have any questions or ever need to ask me for help, please email me at success@fullsail.com, and I'll show my email again at the very end of the seminar. So how the seminars work, you first must be enrolled in an online degree program to get credit for completing this seminar. If you are a campus student watching this seminar right now, by all means, you can watch it for fun, and I may have given the link to some of you to watch it for fun. But to get credit, you must come in person to the success seminars that are offered on campus in the classroom. Please check the Connect calendar at the end of week 1 every month for the schedule. Now, for all of you online students, there are 8 seminars, and you only have to attend 5 out of the 8 to get your 10 GPA points. You must also write a 3-paragraph essay for each seminar containing 3 valuable lessons you learned from the seminar. I'm actually going to show you exactly how to do this while we watch the seminar. I will show you when to pause the video and when to start writing your answers to your 3 questions. The seminars can be done in any order, they are not required, and you can do them any month. Points do not need to be applied immediately. You can wait until the last month of the classes, and you will receive a congratulations email after you complete the seminars and they are graded. So you can wait until the very final week before you graduate. Do the seminars now in week 1 or month 1 even here on campus or online, and then apply your points at the very end of your program. 10 points towards 1 passing grade. You cannot split the points, so a 70% would become an 80%, or an 80% would become a 90%. You can't go over 100%, so a 95% would stop at 100. This does help a lot of students get valedictorian, and also helps a lot of students just really impress future employers with their grades. If you have any questions about how this works or it's done, please email me again at success@fullsail.com, or you can also refer to the directions on Connect. All right, everybody, let's dive right in and start talking about stress. There are so many common college stressors. These are some of the most common: finances, good old financial aid, paying for tuition, new levels of independence. Maybe it's the first time that you lived by yourself. Maybe you just graduated from high school and moved out on your own. Living among strangers, roommates, maybe you moved in with people that you've never met before. Coursework and exams, having deadlines and time management. Full Sail is a very fast-paced program. You really have to master deadline planning and time management. Family turmoil or loss back home. Work schedules, social obligations, romantic relationships, really just kind of every relationship, honestly, and procrastination. And I can tell you from my own experience, you guys, as doing my master's degree completely online and working 2 jobs at the same time to pay for my master's degree, and also having a family, that there are a lot of stressors that online students have that campus students don't have. And likewise, there are a lot of stressors that campus students have that online students don't have. The bottom line is here, there are a lot of stressors in college, period. So this seminar is beneficial for campus and online students alike. I really hope that today you guys not only learn what causes stress, but the effects of stress, and then hopefully some renewal themes that we can do together every single day to kind of work on stress and be our healthy, well-balanced lives. So I am going to show you guys a film. It's a National Geographic film called Stress: Portrait of a Killer. And to be really honest, guys, this film can kind of cause some stress because it points out a lot of the effects of stress and negative effects of stress. So before we even start the film, I want you guys to pause the video. But before you do that, I want you to pay attention because this will be your first question for your seminar summary. So please pull out a piece of paper to write with and a pencil, or you can pull up a Word document, Microsoft Word, and make sure that your name and student ID number is at the very top of the Microsoft Word document. And also that you're going to want to title your seminar summary, Seminar number 3, because it's a seminar that we're watching today. So for question number 1, I want you to answer this. What are the main stressors in your life, and what do you already do to help manage those stressors? If you guys watch more of my videos and get to know me more, you'll know I'm a big fan of this thing called positive psychology. And sometimes that can even mean that we're already doing things right. And how can we improve on those things? How can we do those things more? Maybe you used to do something to manage stress and you no longer do it. Or maybe you only do it on the weekend, and that's not going to work to only do it one day a week. So please think about this. How would your life improve if you did these good things you're already doing more? Alright guys, so pause this video if you need to write those questions. Right now we are going to go ahead and watch the video. Please enjoy, and right after the video we'll come back together and talk about the lessons we learned for managing stress.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
All of us have a personal relationship with stress, but few of us know how it operates within us or understand how the onslaught of the modern world can stress us to the point of death. Fewer still know what we can do about it. But over the last 3 decades, Stanford University neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky has been advancing our understanding of stress, how it impacts our bodies, and how our social standing can make us more or less susceptible.
Is the aggregate bad news, and
most of the time, you can find him teaching and researching in the high-achieving, high-stressed world of brain science.
This week's paper is this huge contrast between classical.
But that's only part of his story. For a few weeks every year or so, Sapolsky shifts his lab to a place more than 9,000 miles away on the plains of the Masai Mara Reserve in Kenya, East Africa. Robert Sapolsky first came to Africa over 30 years ago on a hunch. He suspected he could find out more about human stress and disease by looking at non-humans. And he knew just the non-humans.
You live in a place like this, you're a baboon, and you only have to spend about 3 hours a day getting your calories. And if you only have to work 3 hours a day, you got 9 hours of free time every day to devote to making somebody else just miserable. They're not being stressed by lions chasing them all the time. They're being stressed by each other. They're being stressed by social and psychological tumult invented by their own species. They're a perfect model for westernized stress-related disease.
To determine just what toll stress was taking on their bodies, Sapolsky wanted to look inside these wild baboons at the cellular level for the very first time. To do this, he would have to take their blood in the most unassuming way.
Basically, what you're trying to do is anesthetize a baboon without him knowing it's coming. Because you don't want to have any of this anticipatory stress. So you can't just, get in your Jeep and chase the baboon up and down the field for 3 hours and finally, when he's winded, dart him with an anesthetic. Now, the big advantages of a blowgun are that it's pretty much silent and it hasn't a whole lot in the way of moving parts, but the big drawback is it doesn't go very far. So what you spend just a bizarre amount of time doing is trying to figure out how to look nonchalant around a baboon. Got him. Time. Okay, he is wobbling now. Okay, whoop, here he goes.
From each baboon blood sample, Robert measured levels of hormones central to the stress response.
Well, to make sense of what's happening in your body, you've got these two hormones that are the workhorses of the whole stress response. One of them, we all know, adrenaline, American version epinephrine. The other is a less known hormone called glucocorticoids. It comes out of the adrenal gland along with adrenaline, and these are the two backbones of the stress response.
That stress response and those two hormones are critical to our survival.
Because what stress is about is somebody is very intent on eating you, or you are very intent on eating somebody, and there's an immediate crisis going on.
When you run for your life, basics are all that matter. Lungs work overtime to pump mammoth quantities of oxygen into the bloodstream. The heart races to pump that oxygen throughout the body, so muscles respond instantly.
You need your blood pressure up to deliver that energy. You need to turn off anything that's not essential. Growth, reproduction, you know, you're running for your life. This is no time to ovulate. Tissue repair, all that sort of thing. Do it later if there is a later.
When the zebra escapes, its stress response shuts down. But human beings can't seem to find their off switch.
We turn on the exact same stress response for purely psychological states, thinking about the ozone layer, the taxes coming up, mortality, 30-year mortgages. We turn on the same stress response, and the key difference there is we're not doing it for a real physiological reason, and we're doing it nonstop.
By not turning off the stress response when reacting to life's traffic jams, we wallow in a corrosive bath of hormones. Even though it's not life or death, we hyperventilate, our hearts pound, muscles tense.
Ironically, after a while, the stress response is more damaging than the stressor itself, because the stressor is some psychological nonsense that you're falling for. No zebra on Earth running for its life would understand why fear of speaking in public would cause you to secrete the same hormones that it's doing at that point to save its life.
Stress is the body's way of rising to a challenge, whether the challenge is life-threatening, trivial, or fun.
You get the right amount of stress and we call it stimulation. The goal in life isn't to get rid of stress. The goal in life is to have the right type of stress, because when it's the right type, we love it. We jump out of our seats to experience it. We pay good money to get stressed that way. It tends to be a moderate stressor, where you got a stressor that's transient. It's not for nothing roller coaster rides are not 3 weeks long. And most of all, what they're about is you relinquish a little bit of control in a setting that overall feels safe.
But in real life, for so many of us primates, including Robert's baboons, control is not an option.
So you get some big male who loses a fight and chases a subadult who bites an adult female who slaps a juvenile who knocks an infant out of a tree, all in 15 seconds. So insofar as a huge component of stress is lack of control, lack of predictability, you're sitting there and you're just watching the zebra and somebody else is having a bad day and it's your rear end that's going to get slashed. So tremendously psychologically stressful for the folks further down on the hierarchy.
One of Robert's early revelations was identifying the link between stress and hierarchy in baboons. Some baboon troops are over 100 strong. Like us, they have evolved large brains to navigate the complexities of large societies. Survival here requires a kind of baboon political savvy, with the most cunning and aggressive males gaining top rank and all the perks. Females for the choosing, all the food they can eat, and an endless retinue of willing groomers. Every male knows where he stands in society, who can torture him, whom he can torture, and who in turn the torturee can torture.
Well, this sounds like a terrible thing to confess after 30 years, but I don't actually like baboons all that much. I mean, there's been individual guys over the years who I absolutely love, but they're these schemy, backstabbing, Machiavellian bastards. They're awful to each other. So they're great for my science. I mean, I'm not out here to commune with them. They're perfect for what I study.
22 years ago, at the age of 30, Sapolsky's landmark research earned him the MacArthur Foundation's Genius Fellowship. His early work, measuring stress hormones from extracted blood, led to two remarkable discoveries. A baboon's rank determined the level of stress hormone in his system. So if you're a dominant male, you can expect your stress hormones to be low. And if you're submissive, much higher. But there was an even more revealing find. In Sapolsky's sample, low rankers, the have-nots, had increased heart rates and higher blood pressure. This was the first time anyone had linked stress to the deteriorating health of a primate in the wild.
Basically, if you're, a stressed, unhealthy baboon in a typical troop, high blood pressure, elevated levels of stress hormones, you have an immune system that doesn't work as well, your reproductive system is more vulnerable to being knocked out of whack, your brain chemistry is one that bears some similarity to what you see in clinically depressed humans, and all that stuff, those are not predictors of a hale and hearty old age.
Could this also be true for that other primate? As Robert Sapolsky was monitoring stress in baboons, Professor Sir Michael Marmot was leading a study in Great Britain that tracked the health of more than 28,000 people over the course of 40 years. It was named for Whitehall, citadel of the British Civil Service, where every job is ranked in a precise hierarchy. The perfect laboratory to determine whether in humans there might be a link between rank and stress.
I mean, that's the thing about stress. I think you've got to look at it in both acute terms and chronic terms. And I think I've been under chronic stress in this organization simply because I'm a square peg in a round hole.
Kevin Brooks is a government lawyer. His rank, level 7, means he has little seniority in his department. He lives the life of a subordinate.
I think what I was most aware of at the time was the workload and how I had most of it under control, but one of my cases wasn't wholly under control. I'd let it slip. And it was a bit like, being in a car and hitting an ice patch and skidding. But nonetheless, I came in Monday morning, and my immediate manager, let's call him Ben, Ben wants a word with you. So we find a room, he shuts the door, then he says, you know what you've done. You know what happened while you were away. We couldn't find one of your files. Do you know what that meant? He just gave me a darn good kicking, psychologically. He did me over. And at the end of it, it was more threats. It was, right, this may be a disciplinary matter. So I left the room, crossed over the corridor to my own room, and I just burst into tears and wept and wept.
Sarah Woodall also works for the government. Unlike Kevin, she is a senior civil servant.
There are about 160 people reporting to me ultimately, one way or another, within the sector. I do really enjoy working in the civil service. It's quite a dynamic environment. It can be quite exciting. I like working with lots of people. So yeah, I do really enjoy my job.
Such dramatically different reflections dramatize one of the most astounding scientific findings in the Whitehall study.
Firstly, it showed that the lower you were in the hierarchy, the higher your risk of heart disease and other diseases. So people second from the top had higher risk than those at the top. People third from the top had higher risk than those second from the top. And it ran all the way from top to bottom. We're dealing with people in stable jobs with no industrial exposures. And yet, your position in the hierarchy intimately related to your risk of disease and length of life.
I've been very lucky. I haven't ever experienced any problems with my health. Since I've been in the senior civil service, I haven't had a day off with ill health. So I've been very fortunate.
In my own situation, I think that my career is pretty much tainted. It's pretty much arrested. Because I've had, for instance, for the last 3 years at work, I've been off sick for probably half that time.
This particular study is sort of the Rosetta Stone of the whole field because it's the British civil service system. Everybody's got the same medical care. Everybody's got the same universal health care system, just like the baboons. All the baboons eat the same thing. They have the same level of activity. It's not the stuff that, oh, if you're a low-ranking baboon, you smoke too much and you drink too much, and if you're a low-ranking British civil service guy, you never go to the doctor and you don't get preventative vaccines. Both of these studies rule out all those confounds, and they produce virtually identical findings.
On both sides of the primate divide, there are soul-wrenching stories and life-threatening consequences. For every subordinate like Kevin living a life of baboon uncertainty, there is an alpha strutting his stuff, glorying in power over someone else, someone unsuspecting, someone low-ranking.
Got him. 1246. Do either of you see where the dart is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, guys, who do you think's higher ranking?
Our guy.
Yeah. Watch carefully, make sure the other guy doesn't hassle him.
This year, Robert brought his family to Africa. His wife, neuropsychologist Lisa Scher-Sapolsky, has also done extensive research with baboons. And for the first time, they brought along their kids, Benjamin and Rachel.
As asleep as he looks. You know, all the baboons are perfectly willing to get very freaked out by a human coming over and touching one of these guys, but cover him with a burlap and he doesn't exist anymore. Oh my God, he's there, he's there. Oh, not there anymore.
Okay.
So this is not quite like take your kids to work day, but you know, this is a pretty central feature of who I am by now and who my wife and I are, and you know, if our kids want to know where we came from, this is pretty fundamental.
As in previous seasons, Robert measures how individuals at every level of the baboon hierarchy react to and recover from stress.
So what we're doing, we're now going to challenge the system with increasing doses of epinephrine.
The baboon's response is immediately picked up in its blood, vital signs that can be deep frozen in perpetuity.
It's this storehouse of potential knowledge, and I got 30 years of those blood samples frozen away at this point because you never know when some new hormone or some new something or other pops up, and that's the thing to look at and start pulling out those samples back to when, you know, Jimmy Carter was president. 150. 25.
Robert's early research demonstrated that stress can work on us in an even more frightening way.
Well, back when I was starting in this business, what I wound up focusing on was what seemed an utterly implausible idea at the time, which was chronic stress and chronic exposure to glucocorticoids could do something as unsubtle and grotesque as kill some of your brain cells.
As a PhD candidate at Rockefeller University in the early 80s, Sapolsky collaborated with his mentor, Dr. Bruce McEwen, to follow the path of stress into the brain. They subjected lab rats to chronic stress and then examined their brain cells. The team made an astonishing find. While the cells of normal rat brains have extensive branches, stressed rats' brain cells were dramatically smaller.
And what was most interesting in many ways was the part of the brain where this was happening, hippocampus. You take intro neurobiology anytime for the last 5,000 years, and what you learn is hippocampus is learning and memory.
Stress in these rats shrank the part of their brain responsible for memory.
Stress affects memory in two ways. Chronic stress can actually change brain circuits so that we lose the capacity to remember things as we need to. Very severe acute stress can have another effect, which is often we refer to as stress makes you stupid, which is making it impossible for you over short periods of time to remember things you know perfectly well.
We all know that phenomenon. We all know that one from back when we stressed ourselves by not getting any sleep at all, and the next morning at 9 o'clock, we couldn't remember a single thing for that final exam. You take a human and stress them big time, long time, and you're going to have a hippocampus that pays the price as well.
In addition to undermining our health, stress can make us feel plain miserable. Carol Shively set out to find out why. She began not with misery, but with pleasure. Shively suspected that there was a link between stress, pleasure, and where we stand on the social hierarchy. Just like stress, pleasure is linked to the chemistry of the brain. When a neurotransmitter called dopamine is released in the brain, it binds to receptors signaling pleasure. Shively used a PET scanner to examine the brain of a non-stressed primate, our primate's CEO.
What we see is that the brains of dominant monkeys light up bright with lots of dopamine binding in this area that's so important to reward and feeling pleasure about life.
Shively then looked at the subordinate's brain.
What we discovered is that the brains of the subordinate monkeys are very, very dull because there's much less receptor binding going on in this area. Why is that? What is it about this area of the brain? When you have less dopamine, everything around you that you would normally take pleasure in is less pleasurable. So the sun doesn't shine so bright, the grass is not so green, food doesn't taste as good. It's because of the way your brain is functioning that you're doing that, and your brain's functioning that way because you're low on the social status hierarchy.
One feature of low rank is being low ranking, the reality. An even stronger feature by the time you get to humans is not just being low ranking or poor, it's feeling low ranking or poor. And one of the best ways for society to make you feel like one of the have-nots is to rub your nose over and over and over again with what you don't have.
20 years ago, Robert got a shocking preview of this idea. The first troop he ever studied, the baboons he felt closest to and had written books about, suffered a calamity. It would have a profound effect on his research.
The Kikarok troop is the one I started with 30 years ago. And they were your basic old baboon troop at the time, and which means males were aggressive and society was highly stratified and females took a lot of grief, and your basic off-the-rack baboon troop. And then by now, almost 20 years ago, something horrific and scientifically very interesting happened to that troop.
The Kikarok troop took to foraging for food in the garbage dump of a popular tourist lodge. It was a fatal move. The trash included meat tainted with tuberculosis. The result was that nearly half the males in the troop died.
Not unreasonably, I got depressed as hell and pretty damn angry about what happened. You know, you're 30 years old, you can afford to expend a lot of emotion on a baboon troop, and there was a lot of emotion there.
For Robert, a decade of research appeared to have been lost. But then he made a curious observation about who had died. and who had survived.
It wasn't random who died. In that troop, if you were aggressive, and if you were not particularly socially connected, socially affiliative, you didn't spend your time grooming and hanging out, if you were that kind of male, you died.
Every alpha male was gone. The Keekarok troop had been transformed.
And what you were left with was twice as many females as males, and the males who were remaining were, you know, just to use scientific jargon, they were good guys. They were not aggressive jerks. They were nice to the females. They were very socially affiliative. It completely transformed the atmosphere of the troop.
When male baboons reach adolescence, they typically leave their home troop and roam, eventually finding a new troop.
And when new adolescent males would join the troop, they'd come in just as jerky as any adolescent males elsewhere on this planet, and it would take them about 6 months to learn, we're not like that in this troop. We don't do stuff like that. We're not that aggressive. We spend more time grooming each other. Males are calmer with each other. You do not dump on a female if you're in a bad mood. And it takes these new guys about 6 months, and they assimilate this style, and you have baboon culture, and this particular troop has a culture of very low levels of aggression and high levels of social affiliation, and they're doing that 20 years later.
And so the tragedy had provided Robert with a fundamental lesson, not just about cells, but how the absence of stress could impact society.
Did these guys have the same problems with high blood pressure? Nope. Do these guys have the same problems with brain chemistry related to anxiety, stress hormone levels? Not at all. It's not just your rank, it's what your rank means in your society.
And the same is true for humans, with only a slight variation.
We belong to multiple hierarchies, and you may have the worst job in your corporation and no autonomy and control and predictability, but you're the captain of the company softball team that year. And you better bet you are going to have all sorts of psychological means to decide it's just a job, 9 to 5. That's not what the world is about. What the world's about is softball. I'm the head of my team. People look up to me. And you come out of that deciding you are on top of the hierarchy that matters to you.
Whatever it is that works for an individual, they need to value stress reduction. I think the problem in our society is that we don't value stress reduction. We, in fact, value the opposite. We admire the person who not only multitasks and does 2 things at once, but does 5 things at once. We kind of admire that person. How do they manage that, you know? Well, that's incredibly stressful way to live. We have to change our values and value people who understand a balanced and serene life.
I'm studying stress for 30 years now, and I even tell people how they should live differently. So presumably I should have incorporated all of this, and the reality is, like, I'm unbelievably stressed and type A and poorly coping, and like, why else would I study this stuff 80 hours a week? No doubt everything I advise is going to lose all its credibility if I keel over dead from a heart attack in my early 50s. Nah, I'm not good at dealing with stress. You know, one thing that works to my advantage is I love my work and I love every aspect of it, so that's good. But nonetheless, this is pretty clearly a different place than the savannah in East Africa. You know, you can do science here that's very different and more interesting in some ways. You can have hot showers on a more regular basis. It's a more interesting, varied world in lots of ways, but you know, there's a lot out there that you sure miss. It is a pretty miraculous place where every meal tastes good and you're 10 times more aware of every sensation. This is a hard place to come to year after year without getting, I think, a very different metabolism and temperament. I'm more extroverted here, I'm more happy. It's a hard place not to be happy.
So one antidote to stress may be finding a place where we have control, But how do we reckon with all the time we spend at work?
I would say what we've learned from the Whitehall study, from the study of the non-human primates, is the conditions in which people live and work are absolutely vital for their health.
Senior civil servant Sarah Woodhall enjoys the benefits of control.
I don't think I suffer from stress. I don't work 100 hours a week. I control the amount of work that I do to make sure that I can continue to deliver long term.
Control, the amount of control, is intimately related to where you are in the occupational hierarchy. And what we have found is, in general, where people report to us that things have got worse, that the amount of work stress has gone up, their illness rates go up. Where people report to us that they've got more control, they're being treated more fairly at work, there's more justice in the amount of treatment, so things are getting better, the amount of illness goes down.
I've been very lucky. I haven't ever experienced any problems with my health.
But not everyone is so lucky. So is there a prescription for the vast majority of us who aren't at the top?
Give people more involvement in the work, give them more say in what they're doing, give them more reward for the amount of effort they put out, and it might well be you'll have not just a healthier workplace, but a more productive workplace as well.
Who would have imagined that Robert's baboons would point us humans towards a stress-free utopia?
This may sound a little fanciful, but I think what we're trying to create is a better society. The implications, both of the baboons and of the British civil servants, is how can we create a society that has the conditions that allow people to flourish? And that's where this is heading, to create a better society that promotes human flourishing.
So what do baboons teach the average person in there? Don't bite somebody because you're having a bad day. Don't displace on them in any sort of manner. Social affiliation is a remarkably powerful thing, and that's said by somebody who lives in a world where ambition and drive and type A-ness and all of that sort of thing dominates. Those things are real important, and one of the greatest forms of sociality is giving rather than receiving, and all of those things make for a better world. Another one of the things that baboons teach us is if they're able to, in one generation, transform what are supposed to be textbook social systems sort of engraved in stone, we don't have an excuse when we say there's certain inevitabilities about human social systems.
And so, the haunting question that endures from Robert's life work: are we brave enough to learn from a baboon? The Kikarak troop didn't just survive without stress, they thrived. Can we?
All right, guys, welcome back. So now let's talk about what we learned from the film. Dr. Sapolsky. Gosh, I love Dr. Sapolsky. I really have a huge amount of respect for him for the main fact that he's done research in his field for over 30 years. The only thing I've done for over 30 years is just breathe and be alive. So he's really amazing and dedicated, so dedicated to his work. One of my most favorite memorable things that Dr. Sapolsky said was stress is not a state of mind. It's measurable and it's dangerous, and humans can't seem to find their off switch. So as we've evolved, stress saved our lives by enabling us to run from predators or take down prey, but today we are still turning on the same life-saving reaction to cope with silly things like gas prices and public speaking. And we just aren't finding a way to turn that switch off. So this zebra running from the lion feels to us exactly how we feel in a car in traffic all the time. So if you were to actually have a conversation with this zebra that just ran for his life, and you said, hey man, I know exactly how you feel. This morning I got stuck in traffic on my way to work. That's just kind of silly when we think about it that way. We constantly put ourselves through this kind of stress and we abuse our natural instinct all the time. We're just marinating in these corrosive hormones and we do this kind of psychological nonsense to ourselves. A lot of times we just plainly overreact to stress, and we're going to talk more about that when we talk about being mindful. But let's talk about locus of control. You are definitely more vulnerable to stress if you feel like you have no control, if you're not getting any predictive information, so how long the seminar is going to be, maybe if your grandma's in the hospital, you don't know how long she's in surgery or how bad it is, if you feel you have no way out, if you interpret things as getting worse, and if you have no shoulder to cry on, so no social affiliation. So these primate CEOs and CEOs of the human world are having less stress because they have more sense of control. They're usually the ones calling the shots. However, I don't know if you caught the part in the film where he said that you can be captain of the softball team, of your work softball team, or you can be very good at something, or just kind of mindfully manage stress in a different way. Then it doesn't matter where you are on the social totem pole. And one of our main takeaways that we learned from Dr. Sapolsky's research is that we just need to be nicer to each other as a society as a whole. Let people have more say in what they're doing at work. Let people be more involved. When the Keekaruk troop, a lot of them passed away from eating tuberculosis-tainted meat. It was because the alpha males pushed out all the females and younger males and ate all the meat as an alpha male would for themselves. And that, unfortunately led to their demise. And then you're left with just, for lack of scientific jargon, like the nice guys are left. So you have twice as many females. The new juveniles come in. They're not jerks to each other. They're very nice. They groom more. They spend more time social affiliation with each other. And they're just this main group of really nice guys. So it is a fanciful idea to say that, well, if we're all just nicer to each other, we can have a better world. But really, that's where this research is kind of pointing to. And I hope that's something that you take in consideration for not only if you're here on campus, but also if you're in a workplace or your family home or just anywhere you go, just being kinder than necessary to everyone around you. Stress also really kind of messes with your health in some surprising, funny ways we may have not thought of before. Stress makes you fat. And, unfortunately, they tested this in a group of monkeys where their arteries do become more clogged for the lower primates on the totem pole, and the higher CEO primates' arteries were much less clogged and they were much healthier. There is a layer of fat called your visceral layer of fat. And I don't know if you've ever had a chance to have any kind of test where you can see that layer of fat, but it is a very important part of your health and management because it covers all of your main organs. And when you're stressed, your body is depositing fat as visceral fat. It knows to deposit in that way. It's very weird. Our bodies do these amazing things. One of the amazing and unfortunate ways our body reacts to stress is our telomeres will shorten at a more rapid rate than they would naturally if you're undergoing chronic stress for a long period of time. And we see this relevant in presidents all the time. They age very quickly over a 4 to 8 year span. So please look at your picture from when you started school, if you're about to graduate, see how stress has affected you. If it has affected you drastically, that is a wake-up call to start working on your stress management. You cannot regrow your telomeres, unfortunately, to look younger. You can, however, stop them from shortening at a rapid pace farther than they would organically. And this has been proven in some research studies where they had moms come in that took care of very disabled children. They were very chronically stressed over a very long period of time and didn't take care of themselves in most cases. And they had them come and sit down together and do group therapy, talk to each other, laugh, socialize. And they found that social affiliation, laughter, and just spending time to self-care and take care of themselves more actually stopped their telomeres from shortening at that rapid rate that it was going at. So that is a wake-up call to please work on your stress management for the sake of your body gaining weight and also aging. So if I haven't convinced you enough already to take care of your stress for the sake of your health, just remember that our bodies know how to fix broken proteins, kill cancer cells, slow aging, fight infection. They even know how to heal ulcers, which are actually not caused by stress. They're caused by a bacteria in your stomach. However, when you are stressed, none of these things work. Your body stops fighting off and fending for itself against the bacteria in your stomach, so you get an ulcer. Your body stops repairing cells, and of course your cancer would spread. Even when you're still in the fetal stage, or if you're a mother that's pregnant, it is so important to work on stress management because they're finding that babies from the Dutch famine that are now in their 60s and 70s have a lot of negative effects from whenever their mothers were carrying them while they were pregnant during this very stressful time. That's why they always say mothers should definitely be working on stress management because your body can do all these wonderful, amazing things, but here's the kicker. None of those things are going to work if you're chronically stressed, and especially chronically stressed over a long period of time. So if you're undergoing chronic stress or more stress than you've had before in your life because now that you're in school, you might be finding even that you're sick more than you used to be. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in a car accident a few years ago along with my family members, and I broke my ribs on my right side, in which I hope no one listening to this seminar has ever broken any ribs because it is a very painful experience to go through. Your body is amazing, like we said. It just heals its ribs or your sternum, anything wrapped around your lungs that restricts breathing. You can't put a cast or a bandage or anything on it like that to constrict your breathing. It just has to heal on its own. So your body has to do its thing. So knowing that my body had to just heal on its own and there's nothing I can do for it, I knew that if I was stressed during this time, if I overreacted to the stress from the car accident and the stress from my family also being the accident with me, and taking care of them and taking care of myself and missing work, if I overreacted to that kind of stress, I knew it would take me longer to get better. So I immediately went into a plan for stress management. I did a lot of self-care. I actually had a lot of phone conversations with friends and family members to help build social affiliation and to laugh and relax and be around a support group. Where I used to just text them or I used to email them or maybe I didn't talk to them for weeks or years in some cases. And that really had a very therapeutic effect on me. Just like the group of women that took care of children that were disabled, just getting together and talking with people and having a shoulder to lean on and affiliation can be a really great tool for stress management. And I was, instead of getting better in 6 weeks, I was back to work within a week and feeling much, much better and able to exercise and run and even run a 10K within that month. Besides social affiliation, another very quick technique would be to do breathing exercises. Placing a hand on your chest and on your stomach so you can actually feel where your breath is coming from. And as you breathe in through your nose, allow your stomach to swell. So you should not be feeling air filling through your chest where your hand is on your chest at. Make sure you feel it from your stomach. And I'm actually going to show you guys an example of doing this breathing exercise with a professional. Unlike myself, he is definitely specialized in this. He actually has an app called Headspace, if you guys have ever heard of that. It's free. It's really wonderful. You can select your own tracks for stress management and other kinds of meditation. And he appeared on Jimmy Fallon, his late night show, and I'm going to show you how he meditates.
I wanted to try something tonight. I don't think it's ever been done on late night television, definitely not before, but I wanted to see if you can guide our great audience and the Roots and millions of fans for a 2-minute meditation.
We should do it.
I mean, around the world, there's going to be people in bars right now meditating. It's going to be fantastic. What should I do? Can I sit next to you?
Yeah, do you want to come sit here?
Yeah. I'll sit next to you.
And if you are watching in a bar, I'd recommend you put your glass down.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Make yourself comfortable.
We dim the lights a little bit. Okay.
So look, we're not going to... I would always encourage people who haven't done any meditation, sit comfortably on a chair. You don't need to sit cross-legged on the floor. Yep. And whatever you do, don't try and stop your thoughts.
Don't stop your thoughts.
Don't. I think the classic mistake is to try and stop your thoughts. Just allow thoughts to come and go.
Yeah.
Okay. So take a moment to get comfortable.
Now, am I comfortable or are you comfortable?
I mean, it'd be nice if we were both comfortable.
Am I too comfortable because I lean back?
No, I think it's good. Okay. It's good. Whatever works for you.
I'm comfortable.
Don't go right back, but just, okay, just right there.
Too many thoughts. Let the thoughts happen. Okay, I'm comfortable.
Okay. So all of you sort of sitting out there, just take a moment. And I'd like you to start off actually with your eyes open. Don't close your eyes straight away. Just a really soft focus with the eyes. And just take a big deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe out through the mouth, just gently closing the eyes. And just take a moment before you do anything else, just to enjoy that feeling of having nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to check. Just taking a moment to pause. As you pause, just feel the contact, the pressure of your body against the seat beneath you, the feet on the floor, and the hands and the arms just resting on the legs. And as you sit there, just beginning to notice the breath, the way the body is breathing, the rising and falling sensation. If you can't feel anything, you can just gently place your hand on your stomach, but just feeling that movement. Again, allowing thoughts to come and go. The only thing you need to do is to realize when the mind's wandered and gently bring it back to the breath again. And then just gently bringing the attention back to your body, back to that feeling of contact on the chair, the space around you. And when you're ready, you can just gently open your eyes again.
That was
Look at that.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing what a great. He does. I'm so happy we did that. I'm so happy we did. That's a moment. That was a moment. My thanks to Andy Buddington, everybody. Hashtag Fallon Headspace.
Hey everybody! So deep breathing is just one of the many techniques that you can apply for everyday self-care. So let's talk about some other self-renewal themes that we can use every day to help balance stress. One of the things I want to talk about are our values and changing our values. And they do mention this in the film that we watched. We value the overstressed multitask worker that lacks a work-life balance. We value the student that stayed up all night long to work on a project versus the student that turned in what they could by 10 o'clock that night and went to bed or spent time with their family that evening. We value the person that hasn't taken a vacation day in over 10 years. We value the person that works through their lunch break every day at their desk and never takes a lunch or takes a vacation day. We really need to focus on work-life balance, and especially for you as an online student, you're balancing probably a job, maybe even 2 or 3 jobs at once alongside of school and a family life and social obligations and your finances and all of your little things that make life so wonderful and fun. Don't give those things up as an online student. Make sure you're finding a work-life balance that is good for you and healthy for you. Other things of stress renewal are things like acts of kindness, expressing gratitude, building positive relationships, engaging in loving kindness meditation, and then exercising and just doing things that are fun and making sure you are having that well-balanced, well-lived life. So let's talk about these things for just a moment. If you remember back to the very beginning of the seminar, when we talked about the zebra running for its life, compared to us overreacting to stress when we're in traffic, there is something called mindfulness that you can use to really evaluate how you're overreacting to that stress. Are you overreacting in the same way to driving in the car in traffic that the zebra is reacting to running for its life and abusing those stress-saving hormones that were meant to save our lives? So I won't go into super detail about mindfulness. Let me show you this video.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. So I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Mindfulness is indeed a superpower. Another really great self-renewal theme would be something called self-compassion. And self-compassion, just very shortly summed up, is treating yourself the same way you would treat a friend. How many of you guys honestly can say right now that you treat yourself with as much support and kindness, understanding, and empathy that you would treat a very close, very good friend with? Now, how do you think your life would change, ultimately for the better, if you started to treat yourself the same way you treated a friend?
Hi, Kaz. Hi, Shelley. As you know, we are producing a course called The Power of Self-Compassion. So we're just talking to people today about how they treat themselves. Do you have a critical voice? And if so, what do you find it saying to you?
I definitely have a critical voice. I think everybody does. And I think they all start from when you're a kid. So, I think all the things that my parents said, I hear, but it's normally about not doing a good job,
It's constantly stopping me as I try to complete thoughts or try to make steps forward.
It's a voice that always tells me that I'm not enough, or that I need to do better, or that there's something about me that I have to change.
When you fail or make a mistake, what types of things run through your mind?
I'm not worthy. Everybody's going to see my mistake. Nobody else makes mistakes like I do.
You're stupid. I can't believe you forgot something easy. This was basic. Why are you having so much trouble doing something so simple?
People don't want me around, that I'm uninteresting, boring, and or just too weird for people's company.
It says that I should have done better, and sometimes it says mean words about myself.
It's probably the loudest thing that's usually coming through my head before anything else, is at least ringing that failure over and over again.
And let me give you a scenario where a friend of yours comes to you, has made a mistake, and what would you say to that friend?
Well, the first thing I would tell them that it's okay. You don't need to feel all the weight of this.
Most likely you're holding on to this more tightly than anybody else.
This in no way, reflects your character or reflects your ability to do something. Definitely a lot kinder to my friends than I am to myself.
How do you think you would change if you used that same voice that you use towards your friends on yourself during those moments of failure and mistakes?
I think it would be, incredible, because you're not going to talk to your friends the way that you talk to yourself sometimes. And I think that if you're constantly kind of reassuring yourself and letting yourself know that you are enough, then your thought process will change.
When you treat yourself like you do somebody else, you start feeling better, I think, right away, and you keep it in context much more instead of letting things be blown out of proportion.
I think I would have a lot less anxiety in my day-to-day. I think there would be kind of a weight lifted.
It would definitely make me feel better and happier, because when I usually say, when that voice that says mean stuff in my head, I'm not really happy and sad.
How could the world look differently if we were more compassionate towards ourselves?
I think the world would work better. I think through compassion and self-compassion, we all would just recognize that we're all human.
As a society, we could learn to love one another and show that love on a regular basis. I think that this world would be perfect.
There's a saying that if you love yourself, then you can love others. Well, sometimes I believe it goes in the reverse, and that if you can show that compassion that you show to others and bring it into yourself, I think that's where true growth can happen.
I think it would be magical. That's really the only word for it, magical, to be able to reflect on ourselves from a place of love rather than criticism.
Not only is it important to treat yourself the same way you would treat a friend in times of need, but it's also very important to have social affiliations and feel connected to someone around you. This could be your family members, it can be your teachers, it can be your best friends, it could be your dog or your cat. I have a dog and a cat that I've had for 15 years that I feel very, very closely connected to. Remember that no one is alone. Even Tom Hanks on Castaway Island had a friend in Wilson. So make sure that the friends and family and relationships that you have created and formed, that you're nurturing them, that you're putting the time and the effort into them, and that you're working on having the best positive relationships that you can possibly have. Having more fun. When I asked you guys at the very beginning of the seminar what you did to relieve stress, what is something you already do? I bet some of you said having fun, playing a video game, going to see a movie, doing a hobby, gardening. That's very fun for me. Going out to an event in your area, spending time with friends and family. Whatever it is that you do to have fun and that you love and that you're passionate about, make sure that you are invigorating that into your life every single day. Even if it's only for 5 minutes, take a daily holiday every day for just 5 minutes to do something that you love to do that is only for you. I'm drinking a cup of coffee right now for the next 5 minutes. While I sip on my coffee and enjoy it for the next 5 minutes, I want to give you your second question for your seminar summary. Let's talk about locus of control and changing our environment. In the beginning of the seminar, we talked about finding something that you're very good at or you have control over in your life. Think about something in your life that you feel you have a lot of say in or you have a lot of control in. Maybe it's simply being in school. Maybe you changed your environment. Maybe you were in a school before that you didn't like and now you found Full Sail. Maybe you were at a job that you didn't like. Maybe you were an accountant or a lawyer, or now you want to be a filmmaker or a game designer. You have so much control over your life in saying where you want to go to school and what you want to study. Please think about that. Write that down for question number 2. What you have control over in your life and how that's impacted you to make that kind of change to come to Full Sail and study what you're studying now. And how does that affect you stress-wise? Are you addicted to stress? There's a range of reactions that we have to stress. We have a different reaction to something called good stress than we have a different reaction to something called bad stress. Good stress are examples like roller coasters, rock climbing, horror films, which for me is distress to do something like jumping out of an airplane or a horror movie. I would be undergoing very chronic symptoms of stress from that. Good stress for me would be things like roller coasters, where I know that I'm relinquishing a little bit of control in a setting that overall feels pretty safe. And the difference is that a roller coaster only lasts for a few minutes, whereas a difficult work environment or a disease or military combat can last for months, maybe even years. The kicker with this is that your body doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. So if I watched a horror movie every single day, which is very stressful for me because then I get up in the middle of the night, I have to turn on all the lights in the house to go to the bathroom, I have to check behind the shower curtain, I jump into the bed because I'm afraid of things under the bed, I double lock the doors. That's not worth it for me to undergo that kind of stress. And if I did that every single day, my body just wouldn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. Your body cannot differentiate that this is good stress, so I need to react to this differently, and this is bad stress, so I need to react to this differently. It's treating stress the exact same way. So the moral of the story here is that do not do things that are highly stressful every single day because they will take a toll on your health, just like a difficult work task or a difficult boss at work would take a toll on your health. Are you a resilient person? Resiliency is the ability to overcome obstacles, to bounce back from a failure or a setback. It's the ability to steer through the everyday stressors that we always face so that no matter what life puts in your path, you're still able to persist and go after your goals. You're still able to move forward. And if you don't develop this in your professional development, it will hold you back. Build that inner strength to draw on in times of need. Get adequate sleep. Make sure you are getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night. Remember, we talked about living a well-balanced work-life balance. Don't stay up all night long to work on a project. At some point, you have to say, I will go to sleep. Because if you wait to go to sleep when everything is done, you're never going to go to sleep because everything will never ever be completely done, especially as an artist. Make good food choices, get regular physical activity, meditate, practice mindfulness, try things like yoga, spend times with friends and family doing social connected activities, laugh, spend time in nature, listen to music, just have more fun. And of course you can do things like massages and acupuncture and candles and all of those things too. But these are all things above that are free and that are accessible to you every single day. Make time for this. I will say this once, and it is very, very important. Self-renewal for stress cannot be something that you only do on the weekends. You cannot live a very stressful life throughout the week, Monday to Friday, and say, it's okay, I'm going to completely be stressed this week and overwork myself and overdo it and not sleep. But on Saturday, I'll sleep in. On Saturday, I'll go to the park with my family. On Saturday, I'll do something fun for myself. It doesn't work that way. You can't save this stuff up to do on the weekends or only every once in a while, or even when you graduate from school. You're going to be in very bad health shape-wise if you wait for that long. Please take care of this every single day. It's something we have to attend to right now. All right, now it's time for question number 3 of the seminar summary. This is your last question to answer. For question number 3, I want you to answer number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 on this slide. Imagine that you're stressed out right now in the classroom, which for you as an online student would be your space that you work in your home, or wherever you would work in. Maybe you go to Starbucks, or maybe you go to the library to work on your online classes. Having a space to work in is very important. So what do you do while you're doing schoolwork at home? Imagine that you're stressed out in your home and you're not doing schoolwork. What are some things that you do for stress management? Imagine that you're at a job and that you're stressed. What are some things that you can do? And imagine that you're driving in a car and you're feeling stress. What are some things that you could do? Some tips and tricks I can tell you to help you if you're in a car, doing things like listening to audiobooks, music, comedians. If you're at home and you're trying to work, making sure that you turn on music or have like a nice space to work in. So just think of the things that work for you and try to Google some things if you don't have a good list. Please save this list because it will be something you can refer back to over and over again to help you with your toolbox for stress management. So you did it! You completed seminar number 3. If you guys have any questions, please send me an email to either myedwardsa@fullsail.com or success@fullsail.com. And I really hope that you enjoyed the seminar. I hope that it helps. Please feel free to watch this as many times as you like over and over again, and I will look forward to reading your seminar summaries. Now, one final thing I wanted to leave you, it's just a nice meditation for stress. This is about a 10-minute meditation by Jason Stephenson. So if you're looking for just a nice way to top off the stress seminar for today and kind of unwind and do some deep breathing, I highly suggest that you continue on. And thank you so much for having me today.
Hello, my name is Jason, and welcome to this guided meditation. I will now take you on a journey of relaxation, visual imagery, and pure visualization, where you will learn to leave your problems and inner anxieties behind, and will gain a new understanding and clarity of mind, embracing instead a powerful and vibrant visualization that fills your being with wonder and enables you to understand your place within the world and all that is important. You will hear powerful, positive statements, and these will endorse many feel-good messages and improve your sense of well-being. You will learn how to let go of tension and to experience all that is natural and instinctive. To experience all the benefits of this guided meditation, find a well-ventilated room and a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Make sure that you will not be disturbed for approximately 30 minutes. And settle into a position where you can sit or lie comfortably for the duration of this recording. Unplug or mute your phone. Close your eyes and prepare for a deep sense of relaxation and well-being. Embrace the opportunity to escape from the here and now. At this moment in time, there is nothing for you to feel concerned about. You are at peace. you will allow the tensions of the day to dissipate and to connect with the universe. Remember that this is your time. With your eyes closed, breathe deeply and slowly through your nose and then slowly exhale through your mouth. As you exhale, picture any pent-up tension leaving your body as a color. Let the tension fill the air swirling around you. If you feel angry, envisage the breath as a deep red color to make it become a more vivid image. But you can choose any color that appeals. Allow any tension within you to disperse as the breath leaves your body. Now inhale again, breathing in slowly through your nose to a count of 4. You can breathe in the color blue for healing. Extend your diaphragm as you feel the air entering your lungs. Breathe in deeply to the bottom of your lungs. With your lungs now full, hold the breath for 2 seconds and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Strive to control the exhalation as you breathe out steady to a count of 4, watching the colored breath leave your body. Continue this cycle of breathing known as rhythmic breathing. Inhale slowly and steadily to a count of 4, holding the breath for a count of 2, and then exhaling to a count of 4. You can use this technique anytime you feel tense or nervous. Try it whenever you are feeling stressed, as it will enable you to breathe your way through any tensions and to be able to release any worries, anxieties, or physical tensions each time on the out breath. Now breathe normally, feeling the tension leaving your body, and continue to do this for 1 minute, and I'll be back. We carry a great deal of tension in our neck and shoulders. Draw your shoulders slowly up to your ears, hold, and then release. Acknowledge that your body is now starting to feel more relaxed. Keep using your breath to relinquish any tension and feel your body start to relax more and more. Your arms and legs will start to feel heavier. The muscles in your back will release. If there is any tension left in your shoulders, tighten those muscles, hold, and then release. Feel your shoulders relaxing. Ensure that there is space between your shoulders and your ears, elongating your neck slightly. You should feel the back of the chair or the mattress supporting your body. Just enjoy this sensation of breath and relaxation for 1 minute. continue breathing normally. Imagine that you are walking up a stone staircase that spirals around. The steps are made from white marble. You trail your fingers along the stone wall to your left as you climb. The stone is smooth and cold to your touch. Continue to climb slowly. There are many steps spiraling up ahead of you. You are not afraid of the height. It feels wonderful to be leaving all of your problems below. As you walk, cast a glance down at the small room below. See many boxes, large and small, all of them filled to overflowing with your problems, your anxieties, and all of your regrets. Feel a sense of relief as you climb higher, moving away from all the chaos, the clutter, and anxieties below. With each step, you move towards peace and inner contentment. You are now approaching the top step, and an inky blackness greets you. As you emerge onto a circular walled platform, you note that the sky forms the roof, and there are millions of stars twinkling in the black expanse. There is a sudden rush of freedom. Feel the sense of wonder and awe as you look towards the heavens. In the middle of the pure white curved platform, there is a circular flat seat sloping back into a contoured chair made out of the same marble as its surroundings. Sit and feel the coolness of the marble beneath you. It is a perfect seat for reflection, and you lean back, feeling the stone supporting your back in the most perfect places. It's as if it was carved with you in mind. Imagine that you are now looking up at the night sky. There are no clouds to mask the stars, and they provide you with a vastness that is appealing, a way to escape the tensions of everyday life. In real life, you may feel tense, frustrated, and even trapped by life's confinements. But as you look up now into the depths of this extraordinary sky, dotted with stars, millions of stars, light years away, you feel a sense of desire to float up high and to become one with the universe, to feel weightless, to gain a new and inspiring sense of perspective. Feel yourself begin to float gently out of the marble seat. You move up even higher, twisting your position around so that you can look around as you float higher. You float up above the marble walls, and now you can see the view of the city around you. Lights that twinkle far beneath the expanse of sky. The view is magnificent. You can see for miles, the landscape lit by twinkling lights, heralding the existence of those who live and share this reality with you. A cityscape that comes to life with the sprinkling of artificial lights that mirror the heavens above, You move effortlessly, relishing in this feeling of freedom. Here you are cast afloat from the problems of daily life. It is like flying, but with no effort required. A single thought enables you to change direction at will, and you travel on. You look down. Moonlight is reflected in the rippling waters of the estuary. Gentle waves lap at the shore, and as you float out further, high above the darkened waters, boats bob along the harbour walls, and the feeling here is of complete peace and tranquility. You feel invisible. There is no blame here, no regrets, just awe at being able to see life from a whole new perspective. Travelling over the estuary, you head along the coastline, scaling large cliffs, flying high above them. Thin wispy clouds, almost transparent from below, are blown in from the sea hugging the cliffs as you move higher. The clouds wrap themselves around you like gossamer threads. The clouds, wispy, fragile, and translucent, follow in your trail as you soar ever higher, rising vertically now, higher and higher, looking up towards the moon. Silvery grey, the moon is full. You marvel at its beauty and power, knowing how it controls the ebb and wane of the tides. Here suddenly, life seems less complicated. There is a sense of pureness, of mystery and yet clarity. Life is good. Life is wonderful. And you share a sense of connection with the universe. Breathe in deeply and then release the breath, letting go of any tension within your body. Instead, focus on the softness of every muscle. Feel yourself loose, relaxed, and free from burden. Far below you, low-flying birds hug the surface of the water disturbed. They seem tiny and fast-moving. The water ripples gently. Sparkling stars and the light from the moon herald your way. You see the world from an enlightened viewpoint, and it is one of wonder. Here, high above the fragmented clouds, you feel a part of the world's mystery, connected on every level and free from your problems. You can sense a change around you. Gradually the air becomes warmer and misted as cloud formations begin to forge together. The sky changes colour, dark, muted through to light, and for a while the sun and moon share a place in the heavens. You drop down now through the fluffy clouds, thicker now, and float down towards the earth's surface. You feel exalted as the sea now mirrors the changing skies, sparkling sunlight glinting across the surface and shimmers of blue. You drift down, moving on away from the water's edges, still high above the city's architecture. Tall concrete pillars and homes reaching up towards the sky, and small private residences, alone surrounded by small patches of green. like a complex jigsaw of life, stone and irregular shapes all fitting together in an almost seamless ease. Marvel at how the man-made structures can look beautiful too. Here you can see that life is about living and not holding on to problems. There is no place in your life anymore for anxieties that make you feel ill, tension headaches, regrets that gnaw away at you, or the decisions that you just can't make. Here in this weightless existence, you realize that you can be free from all of the negative aspects of life, no longer shackled by an existence that holds you back. This acknowledgement is meaningful. It has the power to change your life. As you breathe in deeply, conjure up the image of those problems and all of the boxes that you left behind. Initially they were overflowing, threatening in their power to hamper your life, to impact you at every turn. Now picture them, reduced in size, no more threatening, just minor inconveniences now that you have scaled them in your mind. Shrink the problem smaller still. Breathe deeply again and then out, breathing out the last of your connections to those problems, and visualize them growing ever smaller. Minute, a fraction of their former size, and you realize that your perspective was clouded before, your judgment off center. Your realization of the truth in life and the importance of nature and your place in the world makes those problems seem insignificant by comparison. Focus again on your breathing, inhaling as you open up the chest, exhaling as you breathe out. It is time to see the problems of life as mere obstacles. It is time to look to the important things in life and to step away from any doubts, regrets, or anxieties that affect you negatively. It is time to feel contentment and to embrace pure inner peace. Drift gently now down to earth. Close your eyes and feel your descent. You are at peace with life and with yourself. Finally, you understand your part within the universe. Drifting down, bathed in golden light as the sun shimmers in the early morning sky. The faint warmth is comforting, a beautiful start to the day. It is time to feel positive about your life. You have the power to do so. You are centered. You retain the feeling of peace and wonder. You are now back in your own reality. Imagine that you are back in your bed, comfortable, safe and secure. Open your eyes and stretch out your muscles, breathing deeply to send oxygen around your body. Realize how good you feel right now. Keep experiencing the wonderful sense of calmness and deep peace as you remember your wonderful high time above the clouds, a part of the midnight sky, and then a part of the early morning transition as night became day. Understand now that your problems are such a small part of time and space, and even within your own reality. Understand that your problems can be dealt with quickly and clearly, with clarity of mind. Breathe in deeply and keep your sense of peace and tranquility. Breathe out slowly, noting that no tension remains. Remember that you can return to this meditation whenever you need a renewed perspective. You are at one with the universe.